With that said, I'm going to be sharing my screen with us for our featured presentation. And of course, tonight it has a simple dub. The commandments repeated. Last week we dealt with Deuteronomy. So Deutero has to do with second, and the nomi has to do with nomos, has to do with the law being repeated a second time. The reason for it being repeated is that those who got it at Mount Sinai, they died in the wilderness. Those who are going over into the promised land now, these would have been those who are 19 years and above and their children. So that's 3 generations. The first that died in the wilderness, the one that is traveling with them that are going to go in, and their children with them. And of course, now the 4th generation is going to be those who are now born into the land. And so with that said, I want you to know that we're also going to be focusing on 2 things from this chapter, which is going to be chapter 5. We'll be looking on idolatry and the reasons for the Sabbath covenant. So it's a repetition of all the laws. But our focus tonight is not going to be like an extended focus, but it's a bit more of an emphasis on idolatry and the reasons for the Sabbath covenant. With that said, let's go. It's chapter 5 of Deuteronomy. And Moses called all Israel. Now, all Israel are not the people who left Egypt. They are now dead. 40 years would have come to an end and they are dead. The people that are called all Israel at this time would have been those who are 19 years and above and their children. So Moses called all Israel and said unto them, Hear, O Israel, the statutes and judgment which I speak in your ears this day, that ye may learn them and keep and do them. The Lord our God made a covenant with us in Horeb, and I'm begging you to remember this. The Lord made a covenant, and that covenant was the Sabbath. We have 10 commandments, but one of the command is to keep a covenant, which is the Sabbath. Don't believe that Israel would have been the first to have been getting these laws. They are the first who would have received a Sabbath covenant. But before them, they knew, well, the people of the time, they were told not to kill, not to steal, not to this, not to that. They know all of that. Reason why we can say that is that the Lord would have met with Abraham and said to Abraham, he's going to judge Egypt. He cannot judge Egypt unless he would have spoken to them. Then he's going to judge the Amorites. He can't judge them unless he would have spoken to them. And that's why you might find scholars or some critics who might be saying that the things that are written in the Bible are copies from somewhere else. Or the Israelites got it from somewhere else. Or these were not the first, Israel was not the first to have had these. I can say, duh, that's a fact. Because God did not make heaven and earth, put people there and left them alone, and then give only the Israelites laws. He would have given mankind his laws. The difference here is that he would have now called Israel to be that representation, his representative, his ambassador, to lead the world to him. Therefore, what he's given to Israel, he would have already given to the world. So they would have already known and have had these. Therefore, it looks similar. Why? Because it would have come from a common God, a common source. So here, Moses repeating now to these that the Lord our God made a covenant with us as a people in Horeb. The Lord made not this covenant with our fathers, but with us, even us who are all of us here alive today. So this covenant was not made with the fathers. Who are the fathers? Abram, Isaac, and Jacob. So Abram, Isaac, and Jacob did not get the Sabbath covenant. But they would have learned how not to steal and to kill and to do all these things. Even Cain himself was afraid that somebody going to kill him. though he did wrong by killing somebody. So they knew. Israel was not the first to be told. Same God is telling them like you would have said to other people. So Moses now saying that the covenant that we are getting, our fathers did not get those. The Lord talked with you face to face in the mount of the midst of the fire. I stood between the Lord and you. Now, he's talking to them as if it was their parents. I stood between the Lord and you at that time to show you the word of the Lord. But ye were afraid by reason of the fire, and went not up into the mount, saying, I am the Lord thy God, which brought thee out of the land of Egypt, from the house of bondage. Now, I want to focus a little bit on idolatry here. So the commandments are going to be repeated. And the first one is about idolatry. I've heard many persons repeating some lines out of this first commandment as if it's a generational curse. It's not. It's about idolatry. Let's look on it. Thou shalt have none other gods before me. This is not because there are other gods, just because it's just that there are idols around. So when the Lord said none other God and there's no other God except me, he's just saying that he is God and he's the only God. What you have are fake idols. That's not fake idols, but fake, which are idols. Thou shalt not have none other gods before me. Thou shalt not make thee any graven image. And I want to say this to Christians too. You should not even have no picture of Jesus put up anywhere. You see, you might have a chain with a cross. Make certain that it is representing Christianity, but it should not represent God. So if you do have a cross, and I'm not saying that you should, I'm just saying, don't use it to say that it represents God. You cannot have nothing to represent him. He is spirit. You may use the local symbols to represent Christianity. So, on a lot of steeples, church, you'll see that they have some crosses up there. Well, make sense that to represent Christianity, but not God. So not only should it be an image, it should not have any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the waters beneath the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself unto them. Do not forget this is a build up to idolatry, not generational curse. Thou shalt not bow thyself to these things, the images that you would make, nor serve them. For I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God. Here is where the confusion begins. Visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me. I just explained to you, the first generation died in the wilderness. The second generation would have been those 19 above, and the third generation would have been their children. And when they go into the promised land, you'll have the fourth generation. What the Lord is saying here is that I will be supervising all the generations, not only the fourth. It didn't stop there. But I will be visiting to see if you are in idolatry like your parents. So visiting here does not mean to transfer curse from one person to another person or take somebody's sin and impose it on somebody else. Visiting means to supervise. So the Lord is visiting the iniquity, the sin of the fathers, that the fathers would have done, because they would have been the one who started off. And he's looking for those who hate him. Now let's look. Who are those who hate him? Those who bow down themselves to idolatry. So notice the scripture saying that you should not bow down, and those who bow to me are those who hate me. It's not a generational curse. It is those who reject God. So those who hate him are those who will bow down. And what is he doing? He's visiting now the sin of those who bow down. That's the iniquity of those who bow down. Therefore, we have the word visiting the iniquity of those who are bowing down. So now let's look on this. So those who hate me, I am visiting the iniquity which is bowing down to idols. So this verse has been used so many times to promote generational curse. This is not the verse for that. And there's no verse for that either. So this is about idolatry. Let's continue. And showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me. Notice those who hate me bow to idols, but I'll be merciful to the thousands of to all those who love me, and they're keeping my commandments. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain, for the Lord will not hold you guiltless that taketh his name in vain. How do you take the name in vain? Simple. By bowing down. And you're now using the Lord's name. You're giving these idols and images names that belong to God. So he's going to have mercy on those who love him and do not take his name in vain. So he's having mercy on them because these are not worshiping idols. So the Lord is supervising and watching those who are doing the practices of their fathers. But those who love him, he's having mercy on them because they're not taking his name in vain. They're not attributing anything that belongs to God to idolatry or to idols in their idol worshiping. All right. So the Lord is now, so that's where that part ends about the generational curse. All right. Now we continue. Keep the Sabbath day to sanctify it, as the Lord thy God had commanded thee. 6 days thou shalt labor and do all thy work. But the 7th day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou nor thy son, nor thy daughter, nor thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thine ox, nor thine ass, nor any of thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates, that thy manservant and thy maidservant may rest as well as you. I'm smiling only because I'm tempted to emphasize something about the ox. So I'm going to say it. Sorry, everybody, I want to say this. So, many times we have people buying meat, those who buy meat, and they're buying oxtail. Have you ever seen an ox? Ever seen an ox anywhere? Have you ever wondered if it's the same cow that they get beef from? When they cut the cow tail off, they don't call it cow tail, they call it oxtail. So the rest of the cow is reasonable price, but the tail is more expensive because in your head it's from an ox. Anyway, it's not about the ox now, but I'm smiling because I just remembered it when I read ox. So back to the point. So the Lord is now saying, right, that you should observe the Sabbath. Now, I want to point out that when the Sabbath was initially given to those who immediately left Egypt, the reason they got is different from the reason this generation will get. Let's make the contrast. So we got those who died in the wilderness. Then we got those who are entering the promised land. So there are two different reasons given for keeping the Sabbath. Let's look at them. Those entering the promised land. And remember that thou wast a servant in the land of Egypt, and that the Lord thy God brought thee out thence with a mighty hand and by a stretched out arm. Therefore, the Lord thy God commanded thee to keep the Sabbath day. The Lord thy God brought thee out thence through a mighty hand and by a stretched out arm. So those who are entering the promised land, this is what the Lord says to them. Why are you going to keep the Sabbath? Because I took you out of the land of Egypt. Let's contrast it to those who immediately came out, but they are now dead, right? These are those who died in the wilderness. But the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. Notice the reason why they're going to keep the Sabbath. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Some points I want to make here from verse 11. For those who have studied Revelation, you remember that when the first angel came out, that's before the tribulation, when the first angel came and the angel was giving the world the everlasting gospel, you notice it's the same thing here. He presented God as the creator. That's the first angel in Revelation chapter 14. And this is what you call the everlasting gospel. Who is God? He is the creator. And you could read Revelation 14 to see that it's the same thing here. The scripture now tells us right now that this is the time the Lord bless and sanctify the seventh day. So though you may read in Genesis chapter 2, verse 2 and 3, that the Lord bless and sanctify the Sabbath day in Genesis chapter 2, that's not when it was blessed and sanctified. It is at this time when they left Egypt on Mount Sinai. That's when it was blessed and sanctified. So this is what the scripture is saying. For this reason, the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. So he could not have blessed it and sanctified back then, because the Israelites were told that the reason why they must keep it is because they need to remember the Lord. And for this reason, now the Lord bless it. So it's not at Genesis. It's not at creation that it was blessed and sanctified. However, Moses is the writer of the stories. So of course he's going to put that down there. But when was it blessed and sanctified? After they left Egypt. Now let's look. Those who died in the wilderness were to remember God as creator. You remember what happened at creation? Adam sinned on God's seventh day. You can better understand why God is going to give them the seventh day as a covenant, to remember him as creator who was disobeyed by Adam. Therefore, the seventh day was given to them to remember the Lord as creator. In the second instance, those entering the promised land were to remember God as deliverer. They are the ones who will now enter into the promised land. So actually, the promise that was given to the early Israelites, the promise was fulfilled on these, the second and third generation. They're the ones who are going to enter the land. They're the ones going to be getting the promise fulfilled. So therefore, there are two reasons given in the Bible why Israel should have kept the Sabbath. In the first instance, the first generation were to remember God as creator. In the second instance, those who are going into the land will remember the Lord as deliverer, because he took them out of Egypt. So don't forget that there are two reasons. They are not conflicting. They are only driven by the reason why you must remember the Lord. But I can tell you that in Revelation, you're going to hear an angel coming back to say, remember the Lord as your creator. Let's continue Deuteronomy chapter 15. Honor thy father and thy mother, as the Lord thy God hath commanded thee, that thy days may be prolonged, and that it may go well with thee in the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. And I could say here that back then, because your name was written inside the parents' book or the book of the land, who begot who, and who begot who, and who begot who. So if you are disobedient to your parent and they blot out your name, you don't have any land title, you don't even have a birth certificate, you are out. So when you honor your father, your days may be prolonged in the land. The Bible did not say that when you honor your father, that you're going to live long. That's not what it's saying. That thy days may be prolonged, and that it may go well with thee in the land which the Lord thy God gave you. He's not saying that you're going to live long. Just saying that you're going to stay in the land. Thou shalt not kill, which means commit murder. Neither shalt thou commit adultery. Neither shalt thou steal. Neither shalt thou bear false witness against thy neighbor. Neither shalt thou desire thy neighbor's wife. Neither shalt thou covet thy neighbor's house, his field, or his manservant, or his maidservant, his ox, or his ass, or anything that is in thy neighbor's. These words the Lord spake unto all your assembly in the mount out of the midst of the fire. So Moses is telling these children now that this is what the Lord would have said to their parents, and he's repeating it to them. Of the cloud and of the thick darkness with a great voice, and he added no more. So Moses said that he got these 10 commandments, and the Lord added no more. No more. Now, for those who may, well, I think if you want to ask a question, do Christians have 9 commandments or 10 commandments? You could just jot that down for the back end of the presentation. What Moses is saying that I got these 10 and the Lord never add any more. And he wrote them in 2 tables of stone and delivered them unto me. And it came to pass when he heard the voice out of the midst of the darkness, for the mountain did burn with fire, that he came near unto me. He's talking to them about their parents, even all the heads of your tribes and your elders. And he said, behold, the Lord our God hath showed us his glory and his greatness, and we have heard his voice out of the midst of the fire. We have seen this day that God talk with man, and man live. Remember the conversation that if you see God, you're going to die. But that's not what they're saying. They're saying that God do talk with man. You, Moses, and you live, right? Because they didn't want to appear. They didn't want to be in front of God. So they say Moses, Moses volunteers, I'll be the go-between, the mediator. Now, therefore, why should we die? For this great fire will consume us if we hear the voice of the Lord our God anymore, then we shall die. That's what their foreparents said. And let me just see if I could say it this way. The Lord spoke through thunder. So they would have heard the thunder, but they would not have heard the voice of God. Moses would be hearing God, but he's not hearing the thunder. It's just like when Paul would have said that the men around him heard a voice, but then when he was talking to Ananias, he said that they did not hear the voice. Simple. One means to understand and the other just simply mean to hear, right? For who is there of all flesh that had heard the voice of the living God speaking out of the midst of the fire as we have and lived? Go thou near and hear all that the Lord our God shall say, and speak thou unto us all that the Lord our God shall speak unto thee, and hear the people. These are the ones who died in the wilderness. Hear them now? And we will hear it and do it. They all died. Let's read on. And the Lord heard the voice of your words when he spake unto me, and the Lord said unto me, I have heard the voice of the words of this people, which they have spoken unto thee. They have well said all that they have spoken. Oh, that there were such an heart in them, that they would not fear me or respect me, and keep all my commandments always, that it might be well with them and with their children forever. Oh, that such a heart, they would not fear God. All that is expected is for them to trust God. Go, say to them, get you into your tents again. But as for thee, Moses, stand thou here by me, and I will speak unto thee all the commandments and the statutes and the judgments which thou shalt teach them, that they may do them in the land which I give to them to possess it. And put the asterisk here just to emphasize this point, that the laws and the statutes that the Lord had given to them, they were not to travel with it, and it become the standard in which they live in the land. So it's not that God gave it to them to merely travel through the wilderness with it. It was a people that he was bringing to a land. And because they were in Egypt for such a long time, they would have known so many practices from the Egyptians and other nations that they would have interacted with. No, they're going into a promised land. The Lord is saying, I'm giving you my laws and my statutes. Now, don't believe that these laws and statutes were not given to other people before. So the Lord is giving it to them, and he wants them to go into the land, and they should live by it. But of course, the rest is history. They disobeyed. He shall observe to do therefore as the Lord your God had commanded you. He shall not turn aside to the right hand or to the left. Stay with what the Lord is saying. He shall walk in all the ways which the Lord your God had commanded you, that he may live, and that it may be well with you, and that he may prolong your days in the land which he shall possess. Again, it's not about prolonging life, but the land, sin in the land that you have, right? So when we look at Deuteronomy chapter 5, we see a rehearsal of the commandments. The two that I've highlighted were one, the whole matter of visiting iniquity. It was not about generational curse. And the second I highlighted was the Sabbath, that those who got the Sabbath were to remember the Lord as creator. In the second instance, those who are going into the promised land, they're to remember the Lord as deliverer. And not to say that they would abandon remembering the Lord as creator. So for me, they were to remember the Lord as creator as well as deliverer. Because when you get into when you get into Revelation now, the angel that comes, the first angel in chapter 14, he's now reminding the world that God, only God, is the creator. So this will bring us to the end of our featured presentation from the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 5. We're now going into our open question and answer segment. Please remember, if you have any question, just raise your hand. Our producers will be more than happy to recognize you, and then we'll be able to attend to your question. It might not be a question, anybody. It could be a commentary that you want to make. God might have inspired your heart through the presentation, and you want to share, that which you got. This is a Bible study. It's not a preaching session where you can't talk back. It's an open environment, and if you don't speak, we don't hear. And it could be that God wants to say something to any one of us here, and you don't say it. So don't think that any question is not a good question. And the answers that we share, don't believe say they are wrong or they're right. They are just views and opinion of different persons, right? So the microphone is open. Just go ahead and just indicate that you'd like our attention to attend to a question, or you want to make a commentary. I know that those in the YouTube channel, you will be able to you will only be able to text. So text it there, and our producers will also pick that up. And yes, Faye, I saw the results from the Kahoot quiz. I saw the questions. Saw the answers rather, your results. All right, let's go. Anybody? Question? Commentary? Thou shalt now speak. Seriously? Okay. No question, no comment. Go ahead, Alyssa.
Uncle Les, nothing in the chat right now, but you had said earlier about about there being 9 commandments. I don't know if you wanted to you were saying that someone could ask that question, so you could elaborate on that.
Right. So in a shortened version, right? So we know that Christians, well, many Christians do not observe the Sabbath. Now there are 10 commandments. 10 commandments. One of the 10 is a command to keep a covenant. But Israel broke the covenant, and the Lord said that he's going to change that covenant. Let's go over to Jeremiah chapter 31.
Jeremiah 31.
Yeah, Jeremiah 31. And let's look at 31 and 32 should be good.
Okay, verse 31 and 32. Okay, I have it highlighted. Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day that I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt, which my covenant they break, although I was an husband unto them, saith the Lord.
So you notice, right? Jeremiah is making a prophecy, and the prophecy is that the Lord is going to change the covenant that he gave to them when he took them out of the land of Egypt. Correct?
Right.
We cannot say it's the 10 commandments because he's not saying that he's changing the 10 commandments. He's changing the covenant that is embedded in the 10 commandments. Clear?
Because one of the commandments is a covenant.
Right. And they break the covenant. The others were
So
not covenants.
so we so we could say then that I don't want to say new, but the new one, the new
Covenant.
covenant, or the replacing that commandment would be the
Exactly.
communion,
So therefore, Christians still keep 10 commandments. But
right?
let's clarify something. Let's go back to Exodus and I think 31.
Exodus 31.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And we're looking at verse 16 and verse 17.
Okay. Wherefore the children of Israel shall keep the Sabbath, to observe the Sabbath throughout their generations, for a perpetual covenant. It is a sign between me and the children of Israel forever. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, and on the seventh day he rested and was refreshed.
Isn't it clear what the Sabbath is?
Yep.
It's a covenant. And that's the reason why Jeremiah could now say that the covenant that you got is the one the Lord is going to change. Not the 10 commandments. There are 10 commandments, but one is a command to keep a covenant. Now let's jump over to the book of Hebrews chapter 8.
Hebrews 8.
Right. And you're going to read verse 8 and 9. And if it sounds similar, somebody going to say amen. Verse 8, 8 and... No. Tell you what, read verse 7, 7, 8 and 9 first.
Okay.
Mhm.
For if that first covenant had been faultless, then should no place have been sought for the second. For finding fault with them, he saith, Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah.
All right. Not
You said
according to
read
the covenant, right?
you mean 9 as well?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers, in the day when I took them by the hand to lead them out of the land of Egypt, because they continued not in my covenant, and I regarded them not, saith the Lord.
Same thing we're talking about from the Old Testament, right?
Right? Yep.
Now, in verse 7, you notice if there wasn't an issue with the first with the first covenant, there would be no need for a second covenant.
Hmm.
This is not about the 10 commandments, it's about one out of it.
Right.
So, one is a command to keep a covenant, and the Lord said that there's a problem with the first one, so there's a need for the second one. Then close it up now with verse 13 for us.
In that he saith, A new covenant, he hath made the first old, now that which decayeth and waxeth old is ready to vanish away.
So now, if he said there's a new covenant, there has to be an old covenant. If there's an old covenant, there has to be a new covenant, and one is canceling out the other one.
Mm.
So it's not that Christians don't have a replacement. It's not a removal. It's a replacement. So Christians still have 10 commandments. Now let's look on it. Since there's a prophecy that there has to be a new one, let's look at the new one. Let's go over to Mark chapter 14.
Mark chapter 14.
I'm just going to read verse 24 is good.
And he said unto them, This is my blood of the New Testament, which is shed for many. Do you want me to read the rest?
No, that's okay. He said
Okay.
this is the blood of the what?
Of the New Testament, which is shed for
Testament
many.
is a covenant.
Mm.
So we know that the communion now replaces the Sabbath. So remember now, Alyssa, some of the things that are comparable with the Sabbath and the communion are these. One, the Sabbath was to remember deliverance out of Egypt. The communion is to remember deliverance out of sin. If you break the Sabbath, those who observe you breaking it, they can stone you to death. In the new covenant, let a man examine himself. And if he takes the communion unworthily, he dies or he gets sick. So just as though the old covenant have a penalty, the new one have a penalty. None of the others don't carry it like that. But now let's wrap it up. Let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 11.
1 Corinthians
11, 24 and 25.
Okay. And when he had given thanks, he brake it and said, Take, eat, this is my body, which is broken for you. This do in remembrance of me. After the same manner also he took the cup, and when he had supped, saying, This cup is the New Testament in my blood. This do ye, as oft as ye drink it, in remembrance of me.
So whereas you'd have had the fourth commandment saying, remember the Sabbath day, the new covenant is saying, whenever you do it in remembrance of me, what I did for you, your creator who deliver you out of sin. So Christians still have 10 commandments. The covenant was broken. Jeremiah prophesied it's going to change. The Lord came and the Lord said, this is the new covenant. Paul reminded the others, do this in remembrance of Christ. It's the New Testament, the new covenant. All right?
Yep.
So
Gotcha.
there are 10 commandments. And as a fact, there might be those persons, Alyssa, who expect the Lord to come down on Mount Sinai with fire and thunder and lightning and say, this is a new covenant. He don't need that. He said at the baptism of Christ, this is my beloved son. Hear he him. And Jesus says, this is the new covenant. So there are 10 commandments, and one is a command to keep a covenant. They broke it. The Lord said, I'm changing it. Therefore, there's a new one. The Lord said, the communion is a new one. When you take it, it's not to take, we don't take the communion to boast that I am out of sin or to make people think that we're holier than anybody. No, you take the communion only to remember the Lord, what he has done. Thanks for the question.
No prob.
All right.
In the chat from Sis Virgo Simpson, science says the earth is round and rotates around the sun.
Right.
Does the Bible say anything that would defy this theory?
No, the Bible does not speak to it. It has so many things to say, especially in the book of Job, about the world, about this universe. But the Bible is not for flat earth, nor is it for round earth. No, if somebody wants to enter a debate, and they ask me if I could suggest a passage to them that they could use in the debate, I would bring them over to Genesis chapter 1. So let's go over there, Alyssa, and let me just give the debater a suggestion, what they could do. All right?
Okay, Genesis 1.
Genesis 1. We're going to look at verse 16 and 16 to 19. No, 6 to 9.
Okay,
Make it better. Let's go to 10, 6 to 10.
6 to 10. And God said, Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. And God made the firmament, and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. And it was so. And God called the firmament heaven, and the evening and the morning were the second day. And God said, Let the waters under the heaven be gathered together unto one place, and let the dry land appear. And it was so.
Now, the reason why we have this happening is as a result of verse 2. So read verse 2 now.
And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters.
So before the Lord began to create land and trees and all of that, water was created. Water was there. So what day 3 is doing now, day 3 or day 2 rather, is splitting the water in two. So we have water going up and we have water below. So we now have a space in between the water above and the water below. The water below is now going to be called our ocean and our rivers and our streams. So they're going to gather up and they form oceans. But the water above, the Bible tell us nothing about it. But here's one of the things we need to know. By the way, I don't know. I'm not shaping up my hand as if I believe in a global or in a flat earth. I'm not doing that. I'm just trying to imitate and trying to present an image. This is not that image to say I believe in anything. So the Lord is now splitting the water and part goes up. But the water was like this before. But what the Bible tells us about this water is that the Spirit of God moved over it or gave it the ability to create things. So when the Lord said, let there be and let there be, it's coming out of the water. So when he said, let the dry land appear, the dry land is appearing out of the water. So everything is made out of water. That's what he's making from, out of water. So the ability to create was not just in the part that is below, but the part above. The Bible tells us nothing about this above. If you want to say that out of this came the stars and the moon, you could do it. You could say that. Now, can we use this argument now to enter a debate about flat earth or round earth? I believe we can make an argument out of it because we know the water went up and that is what created now the space in between water above and the water below. So, if a person wants to get into a debate and they would want a suggestion from me that they could use this, they could utilize it. If they want to use it to prove flat earth, go ahead. They want to use it to prove round earth, go ahead. But is the Bible going to be arguing for a flat or a round earth? No, it's not going to. All right, thanks for the question. Go ahead.
Follow up from Pastor Lundy.
Yes.
How do we interpret Isaiah 40 and verse 22, referencing God sitting upon the circle of the earth?
Right.
And it reads, it is he that sitteth upon the circle of the earth, and the inhabitants thereof are as grasshoppers that stretcheth out the heavens as a curtain, and spreadeth them out as a tent to dwell in.
Right. We could use that for our own earth. We can do that. And I guess some of the flat earth persons may come up with something, but I would, if Pastor Lundy is going to say, give me the word I'm looking for now, around earth. Yeah, I would never oppose it. Never oppose it. Now, when you get into Revelation, now it talks about the four corners of the earth in the book of Revelation. Maybe chapter 7 there, it talk about the corners of the earth. And then the flat earth person now may borrow that now to say it's a flat thing. Right? But is the Bible arguing for flat earth or round earth? No. Can debaters use passages out of it for their point? Yes, they can. All right. And like I said, Job talk a lot about it. And like Pastor Lonnie presented, the circle. Yes. All right. So we can find things to support many of our ideas. But is the Bible now giving us a definition for the discussion, find flat earth or round earth? No, it's not. Can we use passages now to support our ideas? That's why the debate still goes on. All right, thanks, Pastor Landy.
Sister Virgo Simpson was just concurring. She said that the Bible also talks about the four corners.
Right. You're going to find that especially in Revelation also. But four corners, four corners could also just mean um four corners could also mean, and I'm not in the debate, but four corners could just mean the expanse of the world, meaning that wherever you are, it could also mean that just a figure of speech wherever, right? Just as I said, the lightning strike from the east to the west. It's just a matter of the coverage. Same thing with four corners. It could also speak about coverage. But a flat earth guy may take it and say corners mean corners. But then that same flat earth person talk about, is that 90-degree angle, 490-degree angle, or is it a circle of flat earth? Yeah. All right, thanks everybody. Let's keep the discussion going.
I had a question, Uncle
Yeah.
S. When we're talking about death, the terminology that God is taking us home or taking the person home, I feel like we use that often,
Right.
or to say it was their time, quote unquote, or you won't go before your time, meaning you fulfilled your purpose, and that is when you die. Um, could you explain or give me your perspective on what actually is happening in terms of God taking us home, quote unquote?
Okay.
Because is it God just saying, okay, yeah, you fulfilled your purpose. All right, and I'm done with you now. So I'm gonna take you, or what?
Mm-hmm. All right. I'm just going to borrow a passage, right? I'm just going to borrow a passage just to say something about it. Borrow it. Psalm 90, verse 10. I'm just borrowing it.
Okay, Psalm 90.
Yeah, verse 10 and verse 12.
The days of our years are 60 years and 10, and if by reason of strength they be 60 years, yet is their strength the labor and sorrow, for it is soon cut off, and we fly away.
12.
So teach us to number our days, that we may apply our hearts unto wisdom.
Right. So I'm going to borrow this, right? So teach us to number our days. Now, I'm borrowing the passage again, right? So in verse 10, it's telling us that we can live to be about 70 years, and you might have a few more years added on to it. So I'm just going to use the word 70 years. That is to say, I'm not saying this is it, but I'm just going to just say, let's just say we have 70 years to live. And the scripture now says, teach us to number our days. So work with me now, Alyssa. Ready?
Yeah.
I give you $70 and I tell you that you should spend $1 per day. After 5 days, how much money would you have left?
You give me $70.
Right. And after 5 days, you should only spend $1 per day. After
Six.
5 days,
After 5 days, I have $65 left.
right? After 10 days,
55.
no problem. When we are born, we count our birthdays. We count upward. I'm 5 and I'm 10 and I'm 15, I'm 20 and I'm 30 and I'm 40. But if we're numbering our days and we have only 70 years to live, when we are 20 years old, how many more years we have to live? 50.
60. Or 50, my bad.
That's okay. That's okay. That's okay. Now, when we are 30 years old, how many more years we have?
40.
40. So we generally count and add on, they add on. But if we are loan, or sorry, not loan, if we're given 70 and you use out of it every year, then you are 1 year nearer to the end of that life. So I'm borrowing this part to say, teach us to number our days. So instead of counting up, we should be subtracting.
Okay.
So now, if it is that the Lord says, remember now that in Genesis chapter 3, it already, chapter 6, already saying now that, your life is going to be up to 120 years. By the time Moses is doing this little song, we're just talking about, and I'm borrowing it here. I'm using the word 70 out of it. Now, when a person is born, or from the matter of pregnancy, that person can die between 0 and 70. Remember that, by grace and so on, you live long, but I'm just using 70. So you can die anytime between this time and that time. So for anyone to talk about untimely death, it cannot mean that you're 20, you shouldn't die. Because the Lord would have said, I'm giving you 70 years to tell me that you're sorry for sin or committing sins. The Lord is saying that I'm waiting 70 years for you to say, Lord, I'm sorry for my sin. And you reach 50. No, you reach 30 years old or 40 years old, and all you talk about is that you reach at the prime of your life. 40 years, you only have 30 left. It's about you reach at the prime of your life. You're not 50. You got only 20 leave, and you're talking about your land, the land, who they move your land pegs, and who they trouble your refrigerator. You're at 60 years old. You only have 10 years left back. And you don't apologize to your neighbor yet, and they make your life right with the Lord. 65 years you reach. And you want to tell me now that you know the part you need to pray? And the Lord is saying that I'm giving you 70 years to repent of your sins. 70. Just to say one thing. Lord, I'm sorry for my sins. And you reach 69 and die. And the relatives that love you say that's an untimely death. I believe, Alyssa, that we're living in death and we can die anytime. Once we are born or once fertilization occurs, we can die anytime. There are persons who step in and say the Lord would have taken the person out. I guess they're coming from what Job would have said, the Lord give it and the Lord take it. I'll come back to that, hopefully. Can the Lord step in whenever he wants to micromanage our debt? Yes, he can do it. But is it my choices that cause me to die? I do believe our choices affect us more than how God step in to say, time for you today than time for you today. When he sent Isaiah to talk to Ezekiah, and he said, tell that guy he's going to die. Ezekiah turned his face to the wall and repented and lived 15 more years because he made a choice to repent. So do I believe that both things are possible? Yes, we are living in debt and we can die anytime. Do I believe that God, as sovereign God, can override and remove a person? Of course, I do believe that. But I do believe that God is not micromanaging that. I think that our lifestyle affect our life or the longevity of our lives or the time we die. I can tell you this, that it is more likely for somebody to die in a speeding car. It's more likely than a person who is just walking. Not that the speeding car won't hit them, I'm just saying that in movement, it's more likely. It may also be said that it's more likely that somebody may die in a dancehall session where there are many people with illegal guns than the people in church. But it doesn't mean that the people in church won't die. I'm just saying that it's more likely. So our life choices tells a lot about that too. So do I believe both can happen? Yes, God can overrule and take a person. And I do believe that our lifestyle help us to live or don't live. And by the way, anybody, if you have any other contribution to what I'm saying, please feel free to add or subtract. Right, go ahead, Alyssa.
I was just gonna say, I had initially asked because I feel like we kind of, or I've heard like you're praying against death, or it sounds like it's something that is of the devil, like in the sense of he is causing it, and that's something you need to step to stop it from happening, even though it is inevitable.
But you see, during the millennium, death will still be happening and the devil will be bound.
So, so at this rate,
People will still be sinning, the devil will be bound. So remember now, that the devil would have initiated death because he himself is called death. So we're living in death. We're living in it. We need to give God thanks that we're still alive. Rather than questioning God about why did this man die. So we're living in death. So death is inevitable. And even if you're here when the Lord comes, the Bible says you have to change from mortal. You have to change. This body is a body of death. It has to go. Now, when a man going to pray against death, I think he's just making himself feel good. And if you want to psych up himself and feel good that death not going to happen, that's okay. But he can't pray against death. We're living in death. Death is going to happen. I do believe that, people who are sick and you get medication, you should take your medication rather than put away the medication and be praying against death. But nobody is that powerful. Again, I say it is God who determines that, and he can use his sovereignty to remove a person or not. And then when you pray against death, so even if that was the case, right, and you pray against death and God wants a person to die, whose desire is he going to attend to? His one or yours? So I heard the prayer, Alyssa, but I think it may have some, I don't know if it has any poetic meaning where the person is saying, Lord, give this person long life, or maybe give me long life when they're praying against it. But can prayer stop death? No, prayer can't stop death. We're living in death. So we can pray against it or away from it.
gotcha.
Mhm. And again, I'm saying, everybody, if there are things you're not in agreement with, please feel free. It would pain my heart if you leave the platform and discuss the session that you have some opposition about and you don't talk it here. So, because maybe I'm not seeing things, I see things maybe in a narrow way, but you could broaden my view. So I would beg of you, if you gotta come in, make it happen here than outside. Right? Go ahead, Alyssa.
That's it for the chat right now, Nicholas.
Okay, anything over at YouTube?
No, not right now.
All right. Well, look how we have completed our task for today.
Sorry, I was trying to raise my hand, but for some reason, using a different device, I'm not seeing it, so I had to butt in, if you don't mind.
Oh, thou shalt speak.
Okay, good night, Pastor Lass.
Right?
I know it, you said it and you said what you said, but it's kind of contradicting. We are living in death, but can we pray against death? I'm assuming that you're saying, can we pray against, like, can we pray that, let's say you get an aura that something is going to happen, and you talked about your lifestyle being a contributing factor to hasten your death. Therefore, if I have a premonition, whatever you want to call it, and I just feel this strong urge that something is going to happen, which I've done, which happens many times, and the Lord just impressed upon me to pray. Something this just happened with my son. I asked him to stay back and sleep for a couple hours before he leaves home. And he says, no, mom, I have to leave. And I'm like, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. You're driving 2 hours. Just stay and sleep for 5 o'clock. And he goes, mom, no, I have school. I have to do homework.
Yeah.
And then at 2:45, and then when he insisted on driving out, I started like I have this desire to pray for him, and I just started praying. And then at 2:45, I got a phone call, and Malachi said, "Mom, I hit something. I think I hit an animal. It's big. I don't know what it is." He kept driving, and I'm like, "You want to stay on the phone with me?" He goes, "No," and I'm gonna be okay. It's now 3 o'clock. And I'm like, okay. So now my eyes are wide open. I get another impression, pray harder. And I started praying again. And at 3:30, I got another call. He's crying, Mom, my car is on fire, smoking up. I said, stop, get out. He got out and he started crying more. He says, it's a coyote. It's in the front of my car. My car is gonna blow up. I'm like, stay calm. My daughter was close by. I'm like, call her. She's a detective. Call her. Luckily, she was there on scene right away. But I'm just saying, like, when I was actually gonna fall back asleep, but like something kept waking me up. No, keep praying. I could have lost my son, but I obeyed. So when you talk about not like not preventing, but not of your own power or your own might, but having that, spirit say to you, you need to do something. You need to do, this is what you need to do. And being obedient caused my son to be alive today. That's what I think.
Yeah,
On
but
the other hand, can we pray against death? No. Eventually he's gonna die one day, but I just
so,
want to see if that's the two different things you're emphasizing on.
but yeah, I'm gonna talk about that. Let me just say three things here, right? One, earlier when I said, right, that God can overrule anything. He's sovereign God. Good?
Yes.
But that's
And
there.
he could have done his way. Yeah.
Yeah, God, that's absolutely the end of it. God is sovereign, right? No, here's the other thing, now, Alet. How do we know that when he said he hit something, he was going to die? We don't know that, right? When he said the car is going to explode, how do we know he's going to die? We don't know that. We
Mm-hmm.
we push it to the extreme and said that could happen,
Mm-hmm.
but we we are just being frightened. And the
Oh,
greatest of the fear is death, and we don't want to happen. Thirdly, what about a sinner man whose car explodes and he walks out alive?
the
He
sinner
don't,
man just doesn't know God. I believe that you
he
have
doesn't,
saved and unsaved. He doesn't know God. So even though he's saved, he's not going to thank God in the way we do. He's not going to appreciate God in the way we do. He's not going to even know who did this for him the way we did. So,
but did he
yeah,
pray? Did he pray against that?
he didn't have to because that was God's will for him to be alive.
What did he pray against it? Because we're talking about can you pray against it?
Pray against what?
Death.
Either way, you cannot pray against that. But earlier on, you said, and in contrast, you said, um, some death happened because of our own choices or own choices and lifestyle.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's a fact.
So I felt like if Malachi had died, I would have said, you see, if you had listened to me and stayed back, this would not have happened.
But how do
That's
we
what
know he was going to die?
I don't know. I was just giving us an example
Okay, no
based
problem.
on what you said.
Right. And what I'm trying to say is this, right? To say I'm praying against death is to give us a particular power that I don't know that we have. What I do know and I believe and I live, Alex, is I believe that the sovereign God could see me hanging on a tree with 10 rope around my neck, squeezing me, and I don't die. I'm just pushing that as an exaggeration. All
Mhm.
I'm saying is that the sovereign God can overrule life or death. That's God.
Ultimately,
Right. But can I and do I have that power to say death should not occur? If that is the case, Alice, it is sad that we're not at the hospital praying against all the sick and dying. That we keep
Because
for ourselves
so I
and
was sorry to cut you, but so I was just making an analogy to what you said earlier. You cannot pray against that yet we hasten sometimes based on lifestyle, our own death. Then take prayer out of it then, and then if we live accordingly, you're saying we can live longer. Is that what you're saying?
no, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that our choices can cause our death at any time. Again, I said that it's more likely that person might die in a dance hall where bad people have guns. And in the same breath, I did say that people die in church too. But the more likelihood is that here in the dance hall, the people have illegal guns and they're doing bad things. It's more likely that somebody may die there. I'm not saying that the Christians don't die as the sinners die, but whatever it is that could ever happen to a Christian person, that somebody pray and say the Lord delivers and prevented death, I am not going to oppose that because I am not in God's secretariat department. But one thing I can say, that there are many sinners who do not pray against death, and they were in some terrible accidents and live. So the idea that one can pray against death and prevent it, I don't know that this is, unless we want to, borrow some scriptures to say that, but it would give us such a power that we should be using at the hospitals and at the clinics rather
But if you
than,
didn't, but so again, death and death. When we're living in death, we're not speaking of the same death. So physical death and living in death, isn't that two different things we're talking about?
right. So living in death is that we're living in a condition where death can occur. As a matter of fact, the very medicine we take can kill us. So we're living
Correct.
in death. Now, the spiritual death is, the absence of God or departure from God. But we're talking about really physical death right now, not the spiritual death. We're talking about the physical one.
All
And
right, I'll reserve
again,
my
no,
argument for
uh,
next time.
all I'm saying, Alet, is to say that one, sovereign God can overrule, and God can impress on you to pray about somebody. And as a result of that, that person stays alive. So it's not really me doing anything. It is God impressing because God is doing it, and I'm the instrument that He's using. I believe that, and I live it, and I will teach that. All right. But to say that I might just get up and just pray against death and death don't occur, that's a lot of power that I think they could use at the hospital.
But then again, they would have to get that impression. And if you didn't get it, how are you gonna just walk around and do that?
Exactly. So you see what's happening now, Alet, is that now the only time I get the impression is when my family is about to die or somebody that's close to me is about to die. That's only the time I'm impressed to preserve who belong to me. When we have people who are, on the line of dying in the hospitals, why we don't have those impressions at that time?
Oh, sorry. You can actually have those impressions, if you're put in the position, you can.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just talking about that the person that's. I'm just saying that I could go to the hospital and maybe give somebody a glass of water and they live because God would have said to me, give them the glass of water, and through that the person lives. All right. And I'm not decrying all of that. I believe in that and I'll teach that. But I'm just talking about the whole seal concept conversation about praying against death, and
Okay.
it does not fit the testimony of Christianity because people are dying in our hospitals and we can only revive those who belong to us, but not the one at the hospital where don't belong to us. Sometimes about the whole scale, like,
The old scheme of things, yeah. All
yeah.
right.
But I do believe in
Understood.
that.
Thanks.
All right, thanks for the question. All right, Alisa, go ahead.
Sister Perlina has her hand up.
Sister P, Sister Perlina, go ahead.
Good night, everyone.
Night.
I believe that when your time comes,
Mm-hmm.
is your time comes. Doesn't matter how much prayer you're gonna pray for a living. As they are, the man in the street say, if your number call, that's your number call. I don't believe you're gonna die if it's not your time.
Okay, no problem.
That's how I believe.
No problem. All right, thanks to that. Go ahead, Jan. I mean, Alisa. Thanks to the P. Yeah.
Pastor Lundy has her hand up as
Pastor
well.
Landy, go ahead. Your mic is off.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Okay. Good night.
Night.
I understand what you're saying in
Mm-hmm.
terms of us not being able to pray against death and death flee.
Mm-hmm.
However, I also understand, at least I think I understand what Sister Alice was saying.
Right.
Because when we are given certain visions, sometimes we just take it and we throw our hands up in despair and we say, woe is me,
Mm-hmm.
rather than doing similar to what Hezekiah did and start to pray.
Right.
And I know that there are some people personally known to me
Mm-hmm.
who say that they get dreams and visions from God, and that in those dreams and visions, this terrible accident takes place at this place, or this shooting takes place at that place. And so they announce it, and almost as if they're announcing it with glee to say, watch this space.
Mm-hmm.
And my reaction to it is, if that is the vision that you get from God, you do not wait with bated breath like Jonah sitting down under the tree for it to come to pass.
Right.
But you start to pray.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I don't know if that is anything aligned to what Sister Alice was saying, but that's me. I firmly believe that if we get certain visions, that we don't just put up our hands and say, oh, this terrible thing is going to come to pass, but we start to pray against it. Yes, according to what you have said, I also agree that it is the everlasting God who can turn it around. And that's why he sent back his servant to the king and said, listen, you prayed, and because you prayed, this is the answer that I'm giving to your prayer.
Right.
Right? So it's not that we have a power, but I believe that we have a responsibility and a duty.
Yeah. And I'm in agreement with you. And like for Sister Alice, right? And I would have said it, right, that the impression to pray would have come from God, that therefore that this is God's doing. And I believe that. I believe that the sovereign God can overrule. The person might just be lifeless and God bring them back to life because somebody prayed or somebody gave anything. I do believe that. The thing I'm concerned with, Pastor Lundy, concerned with is a church whole scale conversation or prayer of praying against death and praying against death. It does give a bad impression on Christianity because I'm believing in this case, we should be at the hospital preventing death, but then it seemed to be so self-centered around the people I love, the people I know, my family, or my church. Do I believe, like I said, Ezekiah, he repented. This was a doing of God, and God was going to be the one that was going to cessate his life. He was going to die. But because he repented, his life was stayed 15 more years. So it is his repentance that allowed God's mercy to let him live 15 more years. And I do believe that as people of God, God uses us as his instrument to preserve lives. I do believe that. However, my concern is the whole scale like it's like if you have 100 person in the church trampling down, walking around, like walking on the walls of Jericho to fall again, that you shall not die, but you shall live, and all of that. The person still dies anyway. I don't believe that I am the one who is going to be getting up to say I have the power to pray. I believe that I can be an instrument that God uses to preserve somebody's life. I really do believe that. There are times in which we must also admit there are times in which you might have a person meeting some deadly situation, and they're not dead, they never pray, they are not Christians, and they live. And I did say that it's not that God is micromanaging death and so on. Sister Perlina would have said that she believes that when it's your time, it's just your time. I support that. I support that, especially if you're a child of God doing the work of God, and God determined that this is the time, then that's the time. There's nothing you can do about it. And so the sovereign God is part of this. And I'm here saying, right, that you could remember also that Saul, when God stopped speaking to him, when God stopped speaking to Saul, Saul went to the witch at Endor. I believe that the devil impersonated Samuel. And so the devil would have said to Saul, you and your son are going to be with me tomorrow. They died. They're in the hands of the devil. Saul is totally out of the hands of God. But I do believe that as Christians, we should make ourselves available for whether a dream or a vision or even impressions. And I believe a lot in the impressions of God. I believe we should make ourselves available that God can utilize us. The Bible talk about confirming the word with signs and wonders. And it is high time the world recognize that signs and wonders still exist in the community of the Christians. But when we have the fake people demonstrating, the genuine persons can't even get to be used by God. I'm just saying it that because God can use them nevertheless. But I do believe that Christians need to make themselves available to God to use. When we go ahead and do things, it don't work. When we wait on God, it can work. Right? And I don't.
I agree. I agree with all of that.
Yeah.
And if it is that we are going to talk about going to the hospital to pray against death, I think we have been very narrow-minded, because
Yeah.
the hospital is not the only place where people die. People die anywhere.
That's true.
And also, when we talk about signs and wonders, and when your time come, and if your time don't come, your time don't come. We look at the plane that went down there in early June, and the one man that walked away off the plane.
Right.
But then how many people on the ground were not in the plane but died in that plane crash?
Right. Quite right. And they were not in the plane. And one walk away.
One off the plane walked away.
You seen that situation now, Sister Pastor Landy? You see the guy that walks away from me, my personal view is that he needs to sit down at the throne of God.
Yes.
And figure out what God wants him.
Why did God spare me and nobody else?
Yeah, that is what I believe. I believe that. Because such a thing is really dead on everyone, and you walk out. I believe he should sit down and say, God, how do you want to use me? I am available to you. I believe that. All right.
Uncle, Sister Peterson has her hand up.
Sister Judy Peterson, go ahead. Thanks, Pastor
Yes.
Landy. Yeah.
Yes. Good evening, Pastor Robinson,
Good
and
evening.
everyone on the platform.
Bless you all.
I wanted to ask a question concerning argument I've been hearing lately about whether Moses is the author of the 5 books of the Old Testament, because how could he be the author when he wrote about his own death? So
Right.
I said I know you could shed some light on it for me and the
Right.
others. Thank you.
And you will notice also that Samuel died in 1 Samuel. Before
Right.
Second Samuel.
Right.
Right. No problem. All right. So it's it's an interesting question. Um, but I think putting thoughts in it is easy to resolve it, right? One, for the most part, Moses would have had secretaries that are writing for him. Moses would have had Joshua around him, would have had many people around him. And these are people who write, but we ascribe the events to Moses and ascribe the events to Samuel. So the kings would have written First and Second Samuel. The kings would have written Chronicles. The kings would have written Kings. So in fact, it is really 6 books from First Samuel all the way up to Second Chronicles. It's supposed to be 6 books in one. All right. So we have people writing on behalf of others, but the events that occur belongs to these people. So yes, it's ascribed to them. So Moses' death is recorded by by others, the writers. And if you heard about the JEDP hypothesis also, that come into play. You have different writers writing at different times. Paul himself did not write some of the books that we ascribe to him. He has his secretaries. As a matter of fact, Luke wrote a lot about Paul, especially in the book of Acts. He was his companion. So for them, and this guy by the name of, I think, Baruch, he was a secretary for Jeremiah. So we have a lot of people who wrote on behalf. So it's like I'm walking around and I have my secretary with me, and the secretary is writing all these events and so on. When I die, the secretary write about my death and all the other things and all of that. But it's me. The book is mine. And we do that today. We do that today. Many, many pastors who have books on the market don't write one book. People could write for them. People can listen to what they are preaching and teaching, and they use even with the AI technology now. You take that recorder and they transcribe the thing in text for you. You never write it, but the event's about you, and somebody could also add to it about you. It is still you. So Moses would have received a lot of revelations from God, and he would have written things in the past that he was never around in Genesis. But he wrote everything because it was inspired by God. He wrote that. All right. Then would have had other people writing about Moses and so on, and writing with and for Moses. It's all about secretaries.
Okay, thank you. I know you could shed some light on it, and you did.
And again, I'm saying, right, thanks, Mr. Peterson. I'm gonna say, right, that if others could jump in and join with me in, not necessarily sharing, but even questioning also some of these comments I'm making too, or just shed some more light to it for the persons that are asking. I would really encourage all of that. It's not that you are wrong or I'm wrong or you're right or I'm right. It's a Bible study, and we just want to have different input inside here. All right, go ahead, Alyssa.
Just in the chat from Sister Virga Simpson, I agree that lifestyle counts. This is about the previous point regarding death.
Right.
I agree that lifestyle counts. Our decisions contribute to our destiny. Many young men ride motorcycles recklessly in the parish where I live, and they meet in a lot of accidents. Some of them heed, whilst others continue riding in the same manner.
Yeah, and that's a fact. And I'm gonna tell her, and this is a confession. It's a confession I'm making. I've seen so many careless motorcyclists, so many careless ones that it just hit me. It just kind of just I'm overwhelmed that you see them just crashing so often that you just don't even pay no attention to them again. It is so ridiculous. They have this thing where they do the one wheel. They lift the front of the bike up and the back alone. How can you be doing a one wheel going up a hill? Even if you have on a helmet, why would you be doing a one wheel wheelie going up a hill? And they are crashing. Many are dying. I mean, lifestyle does a lot too. Lifestyle does a lot. So I agree with you, Sister Simon. All right. Any other year, Alyssa?
That's it for the chat for now.
Okay. All right. If we don't have any more question or any commentary, again, I'm saying everybody, right, that you are all part of this panel. I beg your input. I beg your voice. We're not here to learn. We're here to teach and learn. We're here to exchange ideas and exchange notes because there are different perspectives that many of us have never seen before. I myself yearn for those different perspectives because they help me. And when we all share, it helps you too. So take this platform as your platform. When we say the mic is yours, it means that just as I'm speaking, you can also contribute by speaking. We need to hear you. So, I thank all those who have contributed, whether through text or voicing, because it's a Bible study. It's a Bible study. And as we're studying, we do need to interact with the ideas that we're sharing so we can see from different angles. Right. So thanks to those who have contributed, even by just being here. All right, we thank you for that. If there's no other question, I'm gonna wrap. But um, before you go, please remember, if you have not yet fill out the survey, we have some items coming in from the States. We want to package them as quickly as we can and then redistribute them to send them out. So fill out the form so we can know what you want. Please note that what you're asking for is not for you. You're asking for it for somebody else. We want to start to redistribute. When I say start to, I mean that this is the mandate of God for us to take care of others. So right now, what you're asking for, it's really for somebody who could well do with this. So put your email in the chat, or producers will pick that up, and then they'll email the survey out to you, and we keep in touch with you. So when we're through packing, then we can send off to you. Alyssa, go ahead.
In the chat from Melissa, have you ever heard the saying of cheating death?
Yeah, I think it's just a talk. Like the gentleman in the airplane, like Pastor Landy just mentioned, he walk out, you could say that he cheated dead. Sister Alice?
Hi.
Right.
So, I know you've been through Revelation 1,000,000,001 times, most of the time without me. But I tend to get a lot of enlightenment in the air when I'm flying, and I fly a lot. So today I'm flying and I'm reading, and in Revelation 21, verse, hold on, I'm trying to see what verse this is, sorry. Where it talks about the foundations of the wall of the city
Yeah.
were garnished with all the manner of precious stones.
Right.
One of the things that came to mind is I see the stones, I saw the names. How did one equate these names to these pearls in the real world? Like, how did they know for sure that these colors are what they are?
Okay. I will say something, right, Sister
Yeah, and then attach it to birthstones and birth.
Right. All right. So I was teaching a literacy class some years ago. I had a student there. So I was teaching the letter R and its shape and its sound. And that student said it to me, "Teacher, how do you know that that letter is R? Somebody told you so, and you come to tell me that it's R. How do you know that he's telling the truth?" How do you know that letters are? So when you ask this question, how do we give name to these stones? It bring me right back to that. How do we know? Well, Adam was told to name all the animals, right?
Correct.
Whatever name he gave to them, that's what he gave to them. It so happened that this is now God revealing things to John. And if the Lord is utilizing the same name that mankind has given to it, it means that we would have now given this item, this label, and we all agree that this is what we're talking about for conversation and understanding.
I got that.
Right?
How did it attach itself to the birth month?
How we do what?
How did it attach itself to the birth month? Like the month of the birth month has this.
Oh, no, that's a different story. That's totally out of Christianity.
Okay.
Let's just say that they say goal is to the people born in, say, July.
Yeah.
No, that's not Christianity. No, that's something totally out of Christianity.
Okay, so they would have taken these stones and attached it to the 12 because it's 12?
No, these are
Okay.
attached here because God revealed that to John.
Right. So I'm saying, so man would have taken these 12 stones.
Right. And then
And
utilize it for their
okay.
purpose.
Mhm.
Then, and then the same thing for like they talk about, Scorpio and Aries. So we do that for horoscope's sake and to make pronouncement on people's lives and so on, which is beyond the Bible. Then I don't have any stone. I don't even know.
Pastor, I was gonna buy you one for your birthday.
I don't want a stone. Give me the money. I will buy a bag of water with that. You're buying me stone. I need the juice. I need the water. I'm joking. Anyways, that's like, Sister Alex, when we ascribe these kind of things to Christianity, it's not part of Christianity. And Christians should stay away from those things. My suggestion, that is. All right, thanks, Sister Alex. Alyssa?
That's it for the chat, Uncle S.
All right. If we have any visitor here, we're happy to have you sharing with us. If there's anything that you would have wanted to question or a commentary you wanted to make, I'm sorry that you didn't feel bold enough to do it, but I'm hoping that the next time you return, you will be able to address any item or the same thing for tonight. But we're a family here and we encourage discussion. Again, we're all part of this one panel. We share ideas and it's a teaching learning experience that we enjoy here. So again, I beg everybody, don't leave the platform to say this is not true or that is not true. Let's stay here and discuss it. I have a lot of pastors here who can weigh in on the situation, not in opposition, but to show an alternative that I might not even see. But if you don't bring up the question here, we can't get to attend to it. So again, I beg of you, when something happens here, let's discuss it. The going away to talk about it doesn't work. You still don't get our perspective on why we present it the way we do. All right. If there is no question from the YouTube channel or from our Zoom channel, I am going to beg you to just give some respect to the producers and our engineers. They work very hard. And you don't know that long before we even get on, they are setting up, they're working, they're checking everybody's videos and lighting and sounds. They are on an hour or so and long before all of us. So, I really appreciate them. And I think we can demonstrate our appreciation by just reading through the credits as to, the persons they are and what they do. So just after we get the outro, we are going to be dismissed with prayer by Sister Perlina. Producers, it's up to you. Let's listen to the outro at this time.
I was all cried out. my emotions drained from the batter of the rain. Still I remain believing. The question still remains, where are you, oh Lord? Where are you? Have you gone for a walk? Have you gone